Hello and welcome. This is Japan, and we have a video that's unfortunately going to be here, which is talking about the WWE releases. If you haven't heard, WWE released a bunch of talent, and yeah, it's a very unfortunate fate when it happens. Uh, Honestly, it's always weird to do content like based on it because you never want to see anybody lose their job. And I'm not going to really comment too much on like if I felt like it was needed or anything because it's never needed. Like WWE is a lot of people's dream jobs, and sometimes even if you're not really used to your fullest capability, sometimes it's still better than other places. So I won't really comment too much on that, unless it's really just wants to be like a discussion type thing. But let's just kind of jump into it. I got everybody out here, and I'm gonna say where they're gonna go next. I'm gonna predict where they're gonna go next because I'm pretty sure all these wrestlers are hungry to do more stuff, and I'm gonna do the best way I can. Some of them I honestly don't know 100% sure, but let's just go over it. I got Stardom, I got TNA, I got AEW, I got Indies. I feel like the Indies more that I'm talking about is like the American Indies, like Major League Wrestling, DPW, GCW, stuff like that. And then like the not sure, I'm assuming kind of more would be maybe in their own home country because there's a few small places like what is it, WXW, I feel like could possibly be the house for some of these people too, and they have other promotions that they have been with in the past and I'm not 100% aware of. So there's a possibility that that will come up. Let's start off with Jakara Jackson. I feel like Jakara Jackson is still like in a prime of her career, so this is a opportune time to get somewhere fast. Obviously, she's on the NXT side of things, so the NXT signees that got released only have 30 days, which is very good because that gets you right back into it. I honestly, personally, unless I'm like dealing with an injury, which luckily they didn't like release anybody who's currently injured, you're kind of like you're released and you can get kind of to a hungry side of things to go somewhere and make a name for yourself when your name is still out there and people are going to want to support you in whatever you do. I feel like Jakara Jackson's had quite a few TNA matches. I think she is a good pick over there. I think she could obviously have a few different spots that she could fit. I think maybe possibly putting her in AJ Francis's faction, I think would be a decent idea because he's also a released person from WWE. I think he could give her a good platform and they could use her pretty well as a single star. I think she could possibly make a nice additions to the Knockouts roster just in general. I think she's been pretty solid as a tag team with Flash Legend, so it was kind of surprising, but it's like it was surprising that it happened because I feel like they could have used her, but it wasn't super surprising if you're watching NXT because they already hinted at that they were going to split up anyway. So this is kind of something that we expected something to happen. I didn't expect a release. I expected more of like a singles run or something, but um, yeah, I think TNA for Jakar Jackson fits perfectly. Next up, we have Shotzi. Shotzi's actually one of those people that like just can fight anyone. Honestly, men, women, anything. I think she is gonna be probably the indie queen. I feel like she's gonna be one of those people that has gone to 70 different promotions in the next like 2 years and been a vital, you know, maybe like main eventer in a lot of them. She obviously had a big name for herself in the indie scene, and I think this will be the perfect example. I kind of don't see her going to like TNA or anything like that, or even AEW. I feel like she would fit just in a kind of a free flowing area, so she can do outside stuff, and but she should be able to get on the card more. Obviously, she was kind of used just as a manager in her late stuff with the TNA, which oh, not TNA, WWE. I also like don't know exactly. She is a 90-day one because hers was like a non-contract release. Like they didn't release her; they just didn't like, sign her contract. And I think she was working in NXT and but on the main roster. I think so. She would be under the 90 days if that's the case. So it'd be a little bit more rough for her. But I guess we'll see how that goes. But Indies for sure. I think she would be kind of like the Matt Cardona of the indie scene on the women's side of things. I think we'll see her in a lot of different places popping up and having some pretty solid matches, but that's just my feeling. Next up is Dakota Kai. This one's kind of more of a personal pick for me. I think that she would fit very well in Stardom. Obviously, Stardom is in a very I don't know necessarily if you want to say weak spot. They've lost a lot of wrestlers over the last couple months, and having somebody like Dakota Kai that can come in there, be young and hungry, have a little bit of repertoire. I think she's wrestled some of the wrestlers on there. I know she was in Shimmer. I do believe she also wrestled for Stardom. I could be maybe incorrect about that, but she's wrestled over in Japan, and I think she'd be really good for that. And she could also possibly pick up some events in Australia, and I don't know if New Zealand has like a scene, because I think she's New Zealand, right? But I think she's wrestled in Australia too. So I could see her doing some of those independents over there, but being like a product of Stardom. Marigold could be an option also. I kind of thought maybe there's a possibility there, but I feel like Stardom's a little bit more hungry to get somebody with a bigger name in there, and I think Dakota Kai would be that person. Also, 90 days from now could be a completely different beast for Stardom, as they could have already picked somebody up. But I feel like Dakota Kai would fit pretty well into that roster. Next up, you got the workhorse Braun Strowman. Even though a lot of these releases were just kind of shocking, I feel like his was, I don't know, one of the most. Not because necessarily he's the best wrestler in the world, but he goes out there, does his job, makes people look good, and he's been putting some people over where I feel like he's still had much more left in his tank. And it's kind of crazy to release him. You know, like I can understand almost like if his contract was running up and you were just like, I don't think we should give this guy another 3 years or whatever. But just to release him, I feel like there's still so much more stuff he could have done to help the roster out, and he seemed very willing to, and it was working. I feel like Braun Strowman though will be a AEW person. I feel like he has some ties there. He has friends there from just in general from WWE's back in the day when he was with some of the people during his White Sick, or not White Sick, White Family stuff. So I could see them possibly having a spot over there for him. I also think he probably will work the independents maybe a little bit first. He's either one of those people that signed the very day his thing's done with AEW, or he works a little bit of the independents and then gets an offer there. But I think AEW would probably be the big best fit for him altogether. Next up, we have Katana Chance and Caden Carter. I was thinking about putting them separate, but I honestly feel like their destination would and should be working as a team together. They were very solid together, and I think that repertoire of being a legitimate tag team that people have seen together is a very good commodity to have, especially with the place they're going. I believe they will end up in TNA. I feel like this is one of the few that I feel like almost is like a lock to a certain extent, unless like they just drastically change everything. But being in the knockouts tag division in the TNA roster, I think they would probably almost be to the front of the line of that division. I think they have that ability and that in ring presence that they would be the perfect pick to put the belts on and do a lot of crazy stuff over there. So I feel like TNA, perfect spot for them. Next up is Gigi Dolan. Gigi Dolan is actually honestly a little bit of a harder one to pick up on because she worked so many independents before she was signed by the WWE, and that she probably easily could go back to that and be like an indie darling, kind of similar to Shotzi, and having all these matches all over the place. Which would be very good for her. She also knows quite a few people in TNA and AEW. I don't really see AEW being the full option for her. I think she would definitely get kind of lost in the shuffle over there because their division of women are already pretty stacked. And other than maybe going to like ROH and having a nice chunk there, which could be really good too, I don't really see an AEW run for her. TNA honestly would be a pretty decent choice too because she knows, like I said, she knows the people there. She's already had some matches there very recently with Tatum Paxley, so I could see her possibly being there. I'm gonna honestly I think she's just gonna stay independent. I do think there's a very fine line with her that she could easily go to any of those places and work out. I think out of all these people, I think she's like one of the hardest ones to peg because I think she could really honestly do all that. Next up, we have Cora Jade. I think she's a little bit more obvious. I think she's going to be a TNA knockout. Obviously, she's already had a title opportunity over there. The crowd knows her. I think the groups know her. The other women know her. I think she would fit pretty well into there. And I think she would work pretty decent, especially that she only has that 30-day thing, that this would be the perfect time to just jump to TNA because of it, which is kind of a weird thing with having TNA and all of these, like the groups, between TNA and WWE, like this, like, what do you call it? Alliance, because they're going to be wrestling friends and stuff that they've already seen, and people that they've wrestled, because now they're going to be in this organization. So a little bit awkward. Cora Jade's also worked for AEW before. I don't think she necessarily liked it there, so I don't know if she'd possibly go there. She's also really close to CM Punk, and I think like going over there might not be the best idea for her. Independence would probably also be a decent idea for her, but I don't know. I don't know how much she's worked that independent scene, so it might not be something that she necessarily wants to do right away. But I do see her landing somewhere very fast when she does. I think she's probably one of the hottest commodities out of all of these women because of her age. Their whole only downside is the injury proneness, and if she can get past that and just kind of do her thing, this is going to be really good for her. Next up is Eddie Thorpe. Honestly, I think he's one of those that are a little bit more difficult to put on any type of place here. Obviously, like place like Stardom is not going to take him because he's male. I do believe he's going to be in the independents. I could see somebody like like ROH picking him up through through AEW. I think he could fit pretty well in there, but I think he's gonna like need to be rebuilt up a little bit. He was getting a nice kick at the end by NXT, but I think like his name value isn't as high as some of the other ones. I think his in ring work is pretty solid, so he's just got to get himself out there. Next up is Riley Osborne. I think he's done really good. I could see him easily being right to AEW because of like some of the other British talent that they have. I could see like a WXW in Europe or something going. I know there's some other European organizations out there. It's probably like the region I know the least amount of like actual independent promotions. I'm gonna put him in AEW for the time being, but I do think it's gonna be more of a European indie scene that he's going to go into. But I could see a AEW run. I don't know how well it's gonna work out for him. Next up is Shayna Baszler. I think she's going to be a very hot commodity between indies. I mean, she's done a lot of blood sport stuff, and I think that's going to be something that she naturally does. I could see her easily running into a lot of different organizations that want to have her in there as kind of like that badass ace. I do believe that if Dakota Kai goes to Stardom, I could see Shayna also going there. I'd put her in the Stardom thing. I'm not 100% sure with her. I do think that she will have the value of being an MMA fighter and being well known. She's also worked in Japan, so I could see a Stardom being a pretty decent thing. I wouldn't really necessarily say Marigold might not be like necessarily interested in her. I don't know if she fits that kind of mold for the wrestlers there, but you never know. I could see somewhere in Japan possibly giving her opportunity. Next up, we have Gallus. I honestly put them in as a group because I honestly don't know exactly where they would go. I do see them going back to Europe and doing the UK scene because that's where they more like a lot of them were in Europe in general. I don't want to say just UK because I think they might be all from different countries. I definitely think they're Irish, if I'm not mistaken. So I think they'll be somewhere over there. So I'm gonna put not sure at all because I think it's gonna be somewhere over there, and that's what I think on the releases. Tell me what you guys think. Tell me who you're most shocked about. I still think it's Cora Jade for me. Braun Strowman's pretty close up there, but hopefully all of these people find a job as soon as they get their non-competes done because it just sucks. It doesn't matter what type of job or what type of thing you do. You don't want to be out of a job. So if WWE does not work out for you, I really want at least something to be working out for them. And if you like these type of videos, don't forget to hit like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.